It's only when you as a person have the choice to borrow and to lend, you are a person who is emancipated. We have two types of exchange. Okay, so one we have here out of Singapore, which is not, you know, we have to be very careful with the financial terms because there's a lot of regulation around it. So it's actually, in the financial world, it's known as a private placement platform, you know, meaning you can make direct investment. So it can't be publicly listed. And then we said, now we have an exchange here as well, that for the public listing. So that's where now we are starting to put products. So that's our first bond will go up there. It will be listed first in SGX, and then it will be listed in our stock exchange in Mauritius, the social stock exchange, which is called Impact Exchange. Our revenues really come from working with the organizations, raising the capital. Our revenue comes from doing advisory work. You know, we do a lot of, now interestingly, a lot of advisory work for various organizations who want to come into this space or the government. I am from Bangladesh, so I grew up there and the Philippines, and I went to the States, you know, from college. Now, my first memories of my childhood is of the war, right? So there was a big war in 1971 when we basically split up from Pakistan. So there were 3 million people killed in 9 months. So a lot of my relatives were killed, and I was 3 years old. But I just have all my vivid memories are from the war. And it was a country that was literally growing up on handouts, right? On financial donation from the other countries. And it had no say. You know, it's basically whatever everyone else thought was good for the country. And I think famously, Henry Kissinger called it the basket case. There's a big parallel, and I always think that, you know, for the rest of my life as well, this whole notion of how to make myself stand on my feet and then how to make everyone else around me, and especially the women, stand on their feet, right? So it really is about this whole notion of self-sufficiency, which is something that I did not see growing up in a post-war country. So I ended up at Morgan Stanley, and it was quite amazing. You have to understand, 1989, there were very few women on Wall Street and no one from Bangladesh. I mean, I never saw so much wealth before coming to America. The fact that, you know, the power lies with wealth, no matter how you cut it. Right? I mean, it is an unequal relationship. And for me, that's always stayed with me, right? So that how do we go to the source of wealth? If we are going to have a sustainable planet and a sustainable world, and if we're going to actually have an equitable society, we really need to think very hard about how we bring all the players into it, including the most powerful player, which is the financial markets. And which is really missing. After the financial crisis, people became more open to the fact that, okay, we need to look at things in a more holistic way, look at financial products in a way that can de-risk it. And the de-risking mechanism, you do need to bring in the societal aspect and the environmental aspect. And I think that's the thing. I think for the award, I think the biggest thing with the award is the fact that it really is a very strong message to the global community that impact investing is now going mainstream. Right? And if it's going mainstream, what do each one of us do in that? I mean, if you think of the financial market, it's on a given day, so it's about $70 trillion. Okay, 70 trillion. If you think about philanthropy, on any given day, you know, if you pull everything together, it's at most like $500 million. Okay, just think about it. It's like this massive, and it's like a drop, right? And then if you look at, oh yes, you know, if you have ESG and the social responsible investment, yes, you know, they're about 8 trillion, you know, $15 trillion. But the fact remains that there's not enough philanthropy money to take care of all the social ills that we still have, right? So even if you look at we don't have to look far. If you look at Asia, you know, where we live, we have 1 billion people, 1 billion, who still live under $2 a day. It's not about just, you know, selling the little package of shampoo to them. How about thinking of them as a producer as well, right? Only then, you know, we will have an equitable society. And I think this is why, I think with the work that we're doing, for us, that's the core of it. It's only when you as a person have the choice to borrow and to lend, you are a person who is emancipated.